We're here in the Card Players studio with Joe Tehan. Joe, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
So we're going to start out by talking about cash games. When did you start out playing in cash games?
Actually, when I came out here like 4 years ago, I didn't have too much money to my name, and I couldn't really play too many tournaments, so I just sat and maybe like, usually the limit hold'em cash games, like 15-30 or so, and I just started playing those games. So it was about 4 years ago.
And did you enjoy success immediately in those games?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed success, and I didn't enjoy the the losing times, but yeah. No, overall, you know, I did good enough where I could move up and, you know, start playing some higher limits.
What is the strongest aspect, do you think, of your cash game play?
Well, cash game play is a lot different than, like, tournaments. Cash games, you gotta, you know, you don't need to get in there and gamble. Especially no-limit cash games, you really don't need to, like, put your money in really bad spots or something like that. You could just sit there and play tight because the blinds never really go up, so... just mostly playing tight and trying to pick your spots well.
Did you ever receive any advice when you were playing cash games that helped you bring your game to the next level?
Yeah, well, I mean, I received advice, I guess, from a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's
anything that sticks out is particularly helpful?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I remember, like, when I was going to school, I would talk to people who were playing poker, and they always gave me tips, and you know, when I was thinking about coming out here, it's like, what can I do? Or, you know, what should I do
to make sure you can play and be profitable? Yeah,
exactly. So I get some tips, and I think the biggest thing is, you know, I met some friends through poker, and we always talked about, you know, I guess we gave each other bad beat stories. And
you
we
went
talked
over
about,
your hands.
Exactly, yeah.
If you analyze and analyze, you'll find out where you went wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So was there a common weakness that you think that amateur cash game players have, why they lose money at the tables?
I think the biggest thing is... Oh, I don't know.
There's so many weaknesses?
No. Are you kidding? I have most of the weaknesses that they do, but I think the biggest thing is to play tight and not to gamble too much. I mean, people who want to come out and, you know, playing a cash game, they don't want, you know, they're there to gamble and they don't really want to sit and wait for a lot of hands and be bored. Exactly. So
if you do that, then you can obviously turn a profit if the luck's on your side.
Yeah, I guess so.
So when did you start moving up in the limits in cash games?
My first year or so, or even 2 years, all I did was play maybe 15-30 and then 30-60 limit hold'em, and then after about a year, I tried moving up to like the 81-60 game when I played at the Bellagio, and I mean, they really taught me a lesson. Like my first like maybe 4 or 5 sessions, or no, it had to be more than that. My first maybe 2-3 months actually when I played in the bigger game. I mean, every time I tried playing, you know, I always got knocked back down. So it was pretty frustrating. But that was about maybe 2.5 years ago or so, and or maybe 3 years ago. And finally, you know, I kept playing it and kept trying, and finally I started to win a little bit more. So it was a little bit, you know, rewarding after a while.
Well, what changes did you make to your game in order to succeed in the higher limits?
One of the biggest things I noticed, like, well, in the limit hold'em game, in the higher limit, like the 81-60 limit, there was never a pot that wasn't raised pre-flop or something. Like in the 30-60 game, I guess, you know, it's 10-handed, and most people, you can kind of get away with limping in a few hands or whatever, but in the higher games, it's like so super aggressive, and, you know, you just have to adjust your game, and pretty soon you learn, you know, how to make the changes to your game to adjust to other people's play.
Do you have to loosen up your starting hand standards since everybody's raising?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you tighten up, you know, I mean, you don't want to play quite as many hands, but the ones you do play, you know, you want to be, like, aggressive in 3-bet or whatever. So, yeah, I guess it's, you know, you don't want to get in there and gamble in every pot that they're gambling in, but... Yeah.
So when did you transition to playing tournaments?
I started playing tournaments. It was pretty soon after I played like the limit hold'em. I really started enjoying the mixed games, and I played mixed games for probably about 6 months, where I was playing all like the 2 and 4 to 4 and 800 mixed games, and I was doing quite well. And then but I was still playing like smaller tournaments. I guess my first tournament cash was probably close to 2 years ago, or my first main cash, and it was in a $1,500 no limit tournament at the Bellagio, and I got second place for like $120,000, and then I'm like,
there's something to this.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, I played cash games for a while, and I never even thought I would make $120,000. So I did that, and then a few weeks later, I won like a 900-person tournament in Commerce for like $200,000. So I'm like, wow.
It opened your eyes.
Yeah, that was last year in January of 06. So I pretty much started playing about that point.
So were there any skills from cash game play that transitioned to tournaments?
I guess so. They're pretty similar. I mean, there's minor adjustments you have to make, but poker's poker, and you're pretty much just trying to make the best hand at all times, and no limit's a little bit different. And,
like what kind of adjustments do you have to make?
I don't know. I was mostly a limit player. I played some smaller no limit games. Just kind of maybe like a 2-5 no limit, and I just kind of played that game just to mess around. I got to play, the limits weren't too big where it would bother me too much if I lost. So I got to play like 50-60% of my hands and just kind of raise a lot of
Get
pots.
a feel for the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that really helped my game.
So what skills do you think are most important for tournament poker players?
Oh wow. I don't even know. Just play good and get lucky, I guess. Tournament poker is so tough, and it's all about how's it. You want to make the best play for the long run, and whatever you may make the best play time after time, and you might not get rewarded for it, but it's all about making good decisions, trying to pick up small pots. I think that's probably one of the biggest keys to tournament poker is never really getting all your chips at risk at any time until you really need to. I mean, just trying to pick up small pots here and there. Consistently
build up your stack?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about structures in the World Poker Tour events?
Well, when I only made one WPT final table. I wish I made more, but...
And you won it, I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess recently they've been changing the structures and they're giving you a lot more play, which is kind of nice. I remember, in some of them, it's kind of tough for the players because, you play for 4 or 5 days. You play for like 4 days just to get to the final table. And, they're long days and there's a lot of time to play. And then you get to the final table and this is where you're playing for the most amount of money.
There's so much at stake.
Yeah, and now there's like, it's kind of a crapshoot. But, the tournament has to end sometime, so the blinds have to go up. But, usually if they can keep the limits progressing at the same, amount that they have been, I think that would be beneficial to the players. I don't know. The way it is recently, or that I've seen in some of the, more recent tournaments, I guess, I think it's a pretty good structure.
Do you check out the structure of a tournament before you choose to play in it?
No, not usually.
So do you think it is really important to players, or do you think it's something you can basically just adjust your game around?
Yeah, I guess the better player you are, the more time you want to play. I always kind of joke around, when I'm at the table or whatever, so that, the structure is like too slow and we have too much time to play. I always joke around that, I want less time and, less of a skill factor. That's my only chance of winning. So, but, I
don't think you're fooling anybody with that, Joe.
But overall, yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be there for like 4 or 5 days for every tournament you play, but for the 10K events, I think it's a good structure.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Cool. Thanks.
Lizzie Harrison with Joe Tehan for Card Player TV.